that's just the knitting.
Hey girl, hey! It's crazy to say that I've been knitting for a whole year now, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a roundup of projects. This truly feels unreal to me because I've wanted to learn how to knit for so long, and I need decades at this point. I remember being 8 years old and forcing my mom to take me to Michael's and buy me this beginner knitter kit that came with these needles that were way too long and a book, and I was going to teach myself. I think we can guess how that ended. Couldn't figure it out from YouTube when I was that young, and then by the time that I made it to Brazil, where my grandmother knew how to knit and could teach me for the summer vacation, I was so incredibly frustrated that I couldn't even try. So fast forward now, I'm 26, and I've just completed my first year of knitting! Truly unreal. This could not have happened without the knitting community that I found here. As we go through the projects that I made in my very first year of knitting, I'm going to talk about what modifications I made or wish I had made, as well as lessons that I learned the hard way so that you don't have to. I started knitting my very first project back in May, and it was of course with the encouragement of my experienced knitters in my knitting community, but I didn't want to be too much of a burden because I noticed that while they're very eager and open to helping, no one wants to feel like they're doing free labor that you should have paid for a class for. So I wanted to do as much learning on my own as possible. So I found this garter stitch beanie per the recommendation of something simple garter stitch, and it truly lived up to its promise. It is just a rectangle that gets seamed here and then pulled together up top. I used scrap yarn from my crochet Christmas beanies. That's why this is so small. The circumference just is not wide enough for a normal head. So this is a children's hat. Things that made the difference for me, I used continental knitting, which helped me tension in my left hand, which was just way easier because that's how I did it in crochet. I've also linked the tutorial if you're an absolute beginner and you want to get started. This is the exact tutorial that I followed. Lessons I learned the hard way. Flat knitting needles hurt my hands, and I think it's because the weight is distributed along the flat needles, and so the further away it is from where you're holding it, the heavier it's going to be. The project just feels heavier in your hands than it has to be because with the circular needles, you're knitting this way, and then in between, you have that loop that you can just rest in your lap. So you really don't have more than half the weight of the project in your hands. Next up, we have The Simple Thing by Melina Brell. This was the first written knitting pattern that I followed. There are a few mistakes, like there's this random bump right here, but honestly, I'm so happy with it. It's a free pattern, so it looks kind of like the Sophie scarf, except you choose the increase and decrease rate, and I think the I-cord's done differently. I'm not sure, I haven't seen the actual Sophie scarf. This is Malabrigo dos Tiaras in Polar Morn, I believe. This is scrap yarn from my Don't Scrap That Raglan that was a crochet project. I actually used the scrap yarn a lot to practice some cables and just practice knitting and purling in general. I think this is a fantastic beginner project, especially because it's a free pattern, so you really don't have much to lose, and if you already have scrap yarn, why not? It's a really great way to play with increases, decreases, and learn how to do an I-cord. And it's garter stitch, so it's easy. By the time July rolled around, I finally felt confident enough to tackle a garment, but I wasn't super confident because I chose one that didn't have sleeves. I'm not going to dive into the Sabai top too much because I do have a full-length YouTube video on my experience knitting the Sabai top, and I couldn't be happier. This is the softest cotton I've ever worked with. So soft, so cozy. The yarn that I'm using is Sammy by Amano. It's the DK weight, so not the XL. I believe the color is chamomile as well. The only thing is, and I saw the Reddit threads a little too late, but I also wasn't a confident enough knitter to make modifications at that point, that the armhole depth is too low, like I have to wear a bandeau underneath. In August, as soon as I finished my Sabai top, and I mean, I hadn't even blocked my Sabai top yet, and I was already working on my step-by-step sweater. The color is absolutely gorgina. This is Malabrigo Rios in Cosmos and Natural. It doesn't pill that much. It does pill more, I think, than the Madeline Tosh that I have used, but it is a fraction of the cost of the Madeline Tosh. I think the step-by-step sweater is the perfect way to level up these skills because it's not only a fully written pattern, it's also a full video tutorial. So you can watch someone step by step doing this exact sweater for the double folded collar, for the German short rows. It's amazing. I don't think there was any or much waist shaping for the sweater, and I felt like the horizontal stripes were just going to make me seem larger than I am. And so I did do more decreases in order to give myself a little bit of a more cinched waist. I do have a video talking about using Malabrigo Rios in general because while the color is absolutely gorgeous, when you wash it, it grows like crazy. And you may actually not have a garment that's wearable depending on how you wash it. Okay, Malabrigo rant aside, this was also a project where I felt so special. I felt like the main character when I was working on this. Every time that I switched to a new stripe, it felt like I was doing it. Like I was conquering my Mount Everest. Like the thing that I'd wanted so badly, which was some form of color work sweater with pops of color. Some project like that. The stepping stone to my being able to do a Fair Isle. I felt such a huge sense of pride with every stitch. Lesson I learned the hard way for the sweater was that Aran and worsted are different. And then furthermore, worsted weight means different things to different brands. Because if you look at the Rios, which is listed by Malabrigo as worsted, it's about the same thickness as the Tosh DK right here behind me. I checked. So yes, I did my gauge swatch and I met gauge in terms of stitches per row, but it's kind of see-through and the double folded collar is much warmer than the body, which makes sense, except it doesn't feel like a heavy enough sweater to warrant such a thick turtleneck. If you've made it this far in this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It lets YouTube know that you like this kind of content and it lets me know to make more videos like this. All right, let's keep going. I had been given by a knitter destashing this bamboo bloom, which has portions that are tightly wound and then some roving portions, and so I really wanted to play with that texture. And boy, did I do my absolute best to do that with crochet. But I could not for the life of me figure out a way to do justice to how gorgeous that yarn actually was. So I actually went on my Instagram reels and I asked, what should I do with this? I got tons of comments with tons of ideas, but my favorite one was baubles. Basically assigned pooling and doing a bauble where you have the roving. I tried it and I fell in absolute love. And so I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, I don't want a sweater of this or a traditional sweater with the tight body and arms, and I don't want a bag with this. Like, what am I going to make? I self-draft items in crochet all the time. What's the difference with doing that with knitting? In October, I started working on the Bubble Poncho, except I made 2 versions of it. And so the first one that I made was from October to December, and the second version that I made was from March to May. So I spent 6 months over the past year working on either of the Bubble Ponchos. In December, as soon as I finished the Bubble Poncho, I was excited to do my very first petite knit pattern, the cloud sweater. It also was having a moment on social media, so it was perfect that I got to jump in on this trend. I used Eco Duo by Cascade Yarns, held with Lovely Lace by 7th Floor Yarns, which is a Surrey alpaca. Coming from the world where I had previously been working with a lot of crochet patterns, I was surprised at the simplicity. There weren't photos, there weren't instructions, there weren't really modifications, and there weren't abbreviations that much. It was just, here's how you make it. I really enjoyed that as a maker. I saved paper, I saved ink. It was very simple. That is the only pattern I've done by her so far, so I think that's why generally people like petite knit. I did have issues with the fit. I guess I didn't realize I had to scrutinize the sizing chart, and I didn't realize that petite knit has a lot of ease in her patterns because this was my first pattern of hers. So I had to make the yoke not once, not twice, but 3 times. That was frustrating. This was also around the holidays, and it's very difficult to get work done that relies on other people during the holidays. And so I was like, perfect, I'm gonna try to knit a sweater in 10 days. Except this was on what, US 4s? And I had to go into knitting jail for, I think, at least 3 weeks. It was so bad that I couldn't type on a keyboard or use my mouse without hand pain. So I learned my lesson to stretch and do all the good things. In terms of ease, I learned this lesson and then I forgot it, but take the finished measurement with the measuring tape, put that around your body, and just make sure that that's something you're comfortable with, because theoretically, you may be comfortable with 5 centimeters of ease, and then you wear it, you kind of see what it would look like, and you're like, actually, no thank you. I don't want to go into too much depth about the sweater because I have already filmed and am editing the video where I dive into this pattern, my process, and what changes I made to it, including the use of the Icelandic bind off. I don't regret making the cloud sweater. Something I don't understand, because alpaca is so soft, is how it's kind of itchy. I can wear it without an undershirt 99% of the time, but if I'm overwhelmed or overstimulated, this is itchy, which is weird because it's mostly alpaca, and so it should be incredibly soft. And it is incredibly soft to the touch. After I touch this, and I touch anything else, it feels coarse. But it's still a little itchy, and I can't put my finger on why. I came back from Vogue Knitting Live so amped up, so hyped about knitting and what the possibilities are, and I took a bunch of classes about designing, and so I come back and designed the super simple triangle scarf. My explore page was full of triangle scarves that were for the winter and were meant to be warm, and I wanted something that would be sheer, see-through, sparkly, and just fun. This took me way more tries than I would like to admit, because you have to get the increases right to get the shape that you want to cover the surface area that you want. So I actually made 2 of these. I made the tan one first, and then I made this blue one afterwards. So that counts as 2 projects. Also, in playing around with them, I did design a skinnier one that I didn't release. I wanted to see what the reaction would be on social media and if anyone actually wanted it. The other one is designed to be very multifaceted: hat, hip scarf, top. This is very much just a neck. You just tie it around your neck or your waist. I do actually wear it a fair amount, so if you do want me to release a pattern, because I did everything for it, it's just not released, let a girl know. This yarn is actually the same, just in different colors. So this is the Juniper Moon Marilyn, and I have actually rebought that yarn at least 4 times. I've crocheted with it for a top, for other crochet projects, and then I've also knit with it for at least 3 projects. It's very soft. It's only a little splitty, like it could be way more splitty. And the subtle sparkle in it, so chic. The last project that I worked on my first year of knitting was the Stellata Bag. I had seen these bags from Miu Miu on Instagram, and I wanted to make my own version inspired by it. This was entirely self-drafted, and so I seamed the bottom, and then I used short rows to kind of get the sleeve started. So it's been a challenge, but I don't remember having to frog one, at least not past the halfway mark, so pretty happy with that. This is using the yarn Glimmer from Juniper Moon Farms. It is a little stiff to work with, and I did have to hold it double, but I do think it was well worth the final result. Now that we've wrapped up in the first year of knitting, I do want to share a little bit about what I've been working on these past 2 months, so June, July. I've been working on the Rose Top by Mathilde Royan, and it has been a challenge, let me tell you. Looking through Ravelry, I knew that there were many knitters who had trouble with this pattern. I didn't realize the extent to which the trouble would be had, which I guess kind of makes sense because a more experienced knitter is more likely to be the one writing a note in Ravelry on their project, and so they will use fewer words or describe it less catastrophically, and they'll just have like the solution there, as opposed to a beginner who's like, why can't I make this fit? Anyway, I've been live posting my process of working on the Rose Top at least once a week on my Instagram, and I am working on a longer form video for YouTube, but I want to finish it before uploading it. So if you want real-time updates, check out my Instagram. I'd also love for this to be a resource, so if there are experienced knitters in the comment section, please feel free to jump in and help our beginner friends out, because we were all beginners at some point. If you like this video, please do all the things: thumbs up, subscribe. It really helps me out, and I hope to see you in the next video.